Hi, it's Jackie Livingston
I'm
here.
just eating.
Oh, and this is my little guy who is joining me today. Hopefully he can be a quiet boy. His nap time ended a little bit earlier than normal. Okay, I want to apologize for my audio quality. I have a husband who's working hard in the backyard with some machinery, and my air conditioning is on because it's really hot here. So sorry if that's distracting. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started though. Let me get my timer started so I don't go way over. Okay, so I want to talk about two of the questions from week 5. The first one is just from the reading assignment, what ideas about teaching stood out to you? Explain why. So the main idea that stood out to me was the importance of group discussion. Now, we are all blog writers for our practicum, and you may be thinking, okay, well, we can't really have group discussion because we write articles. And while, yes, technically that's true, the principles that were listed within a good group discussion, I think, can be applied to our blog articles. Because I personally love group discussion. That's how I learn best. When I'm studying for something, I need to go over the material with other people. I need to try to teach it and explain it. And I think that when you get a group of people together and they're going over material and applying it to themselves and then verbally explaining it to people, I think that really connects certain pathways within your brain that just makes it easier to understand. So if there's any way that we can try to facilitate some sort of discussion within our blogs, I think that that will be really meaningful to our audience members. But again, it has to be done in a way conducive to blogging. So the 4 principles of a group discussion that were outlined within the textbook are structuring, linking, summarizing, and answering questions. And I want to try to apply this to writing blog articles. So first, structuring. The idea of a structure is to just have a clear map outlined for the discussion. I think that you can easily apply this to your blog post. You want to have a clear map outlined for the reader of what the post is about and what's going to be discussed within it. You can do this both by having this in the beginning of your post, kind of not quite your thesis, but I think there should be something within the introduction that essentially says, this is what we're going to talk about today. And then within your post, I think you need to lead your reader through the various points by using good transition sentences and by even maybe having some headings. Just the purpose is to kind of take them by the hand and lead them through your overall post. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Basically, you just want to really generate a good organized structure for your reader, because there's nothing more frustrating than feeling like a writer is just all over the place and you're not really sure how things relate to each other, which is possibly how you're feeling about my answering this question. Okay, number 2, linking. From what I understood, linking information is when within a discussion, if different people are bringing up different points, as the discussion leader, you would want to link how these points fit in with the overall point, with the overall idea of your discussion. I think within a blog post, we can sort of do this by bringing in a variety but related information to the topic and then linking that variety of information to the topic. I think if you do this, you will broaden the reach and scope of your post, as well as relate it to a lot of different circumstances. And, of course, you have to show how this variety of information goes back to your main point. So I wish I had an example of this, but I don't off the top of my, so Skylar, my partner, he wrote an article about forgiveness in marriage. And one thing that I loved that he did is he talked about all the different aspects of forgiveness and gave different examples and supportive research for all these different parts of forgiveness, but it all essentially came back to the main idea of forgiveness. So I think by linking a variety of resources, you can kind of facilitate that part of a group discussion where people will bring in different ideas. Does that make sense? I don't know. Okay, number 3, summarizing. This is fairly straightforward. I think it goes without saying that a good post will generally summarize.
Number 4.
A good post will summarize the main ideas of the post within the end. And I think that this is important because it kind of ties it all together and then brings it back to, the why we're talking about this. So I would say you should always, the way that I was taught to write is you start broad and you kind of explain, like, why is this important to the reader? Then you go down and you narrow it and you give all the information, and then you take it back out and bring it back to the why is this important. And within the bringing that back out to why is this important, I think that there should be some sort of a summary, a synthesis of the main points that you made, just so people can kind of see how they all fit together. Okay, last, answering questions. I think within our posts, we should seek to address opposing viewpoints and then common questions related to our material. We should address the how of whatever principle we're talking about. So trying to explain how our reader can apply this information. And we also should be ready to respond to questions within the comments area. So our blog, our reader will not be able to engage with this in discussion with us in real time while they're reading the blog. However, I think our goal as bloggers is to generate a discussion within the minds of our readers. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just think we want to have our readers go away with feeling like they are able to engage with us, because there's a difference between just passively reading something and then kind of actively engaging. And of course, that's a responsibility as part of the reader. They have to choose to actively engage, but there are writing styles that are more easy to engage with. So I think applying these 4 principles will help us help our reader engage with us, if that makes sense. Okay, the next one, really quick, is I want to talk about skilled dialogue, because previous to the question about what is meant by skilled dialogue is the question, why do family life educators need to be sensitive to differences that may exist within individuals and families? So I think it goes without saying, people are different. Lots of people have different family situations, and family situations are really personal and really emotionally charged. And one problem that we can run into as family life educators is to say, research has shown that this family situation is best. Well, there's lots of people who don't fit in that family situation, and they can feel alienated and isolated and immediately not want to listen to us. So we have to be skilled at both addressing what research has shown, because there are certain behaviors in family relationships that bring about more happiness than others, statistically. That's been shown statistically. But we also have to present that information in a way that is very sensitive. So I think the key to doing this is through skilled dialogue. I love the quote that says, skilled dialogue challenges the notion that cultural competences is primarily the result of extensive knowledge about cultures. The belief that one must have information about others before they can be culturally competent is itself a cultural artifact. And I won't go, end quote, I won't go on to finish it, but basically skilled dialogue is based on 3 principles: respect, reciprocity, and responsiveness. So I'm just going to go over these 3 really quick, and then we will be done. So I loved what it said about how respect is, quote, respect entails believing that people do what they do for reasons that make sense to them, end of quote. I think as family life educators, when we're trying to help our blog readers with incorporating principles, proven principles into their life, we need to understand that those who maybe live differently than what we're preaching live that way because that is what they've found to be the best, or that's according to their current knowledge, that is what they think is the best. And we need to trust that they have their reasons for feeling that way, and respect and not maybe not be so quick to point things out as like completely wrong and completely right. I don't know if that sounds wishy-washy, but basically the point is you just need to respect that people do what they do for reasons that make sense to them. Back to that original quote. Okay, reciprocity. This is to understand that people have their own perceptions and there are inherent values within that perception. I love this because when we can believe that people's paradigms are valuable and that we don't know everything and we have a lot that we can learn from people and their points of view, I think that makes people more willing to listen to us because they feel valued. And basically, we just shouldn't dismiss other people's way of seeing things as completely wrong, but we should rather seek to understand it. So, responsiveness. I understand this to mean that it is important that we be willing to learn from the people we're teaching. And after we better understand their values and perceptions, we should seek for their ideas and guidance in incorporating the principles we've shared. In my mind, I just go back to the quote by Joseph Smith that says, we teach people correct principles and then let them govern themselves. So I think as researchers, as marriage, family educators, family life educators, we try to take principles that have come about from good research and then teach people these principles, right? And then we hope that these people will take the principles and then apply them to their unique situations. And I think one thing that researchers or that family life educators sometimes can fall into the trap of is trying to tell a huge variety of people how to specifically apply a principle. And while that doesn't really support diversity because again, everybody is different. And so they're going to apply things differently. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we need to be willing to learn about why people would apply things differently than us, or maybe differently than the way that we're suggesting they should, because that will broaden our knowledge base as family life educators and then help us to better help them because they will feel heard, So it's like, and you give somebody a principle and they say, oh, well, that doesn't really work for me, instead of saying, well, it should, like, I'm the expert, you should listen to me. We say, okay, well, why not? Explain to me why that doesn't work. And then, we dialogue with them and maybe we'll find that, yeah, it doesn't really work for them. Let's find a different way to make this principle apply. Does that make sense? I know I'm rambling. These principles were just really cool to me, but I'll be done now. So hopefully some of that was useful. And I look forward to hearing your guys' insights. And thanks for listening to all of you who got this far.